Good evening and welcome to Lower Makefield Township's Park and Recreation Advisory Board meeting for October 2021. First is call to order. Present tonight, we have Mike Blundy, Kim Rock, Michael Brody, Dave Malinowski, and myself, Doug Kraus. We also have our Director of Parks Recreation, Monica Tierney, here with us. First order of business is to approve the minutes from our May meeting. Does anybody have any comment, changes, additions to the minutes from May 11th of 2021? If no comments, do we have an approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of May 11th, 2021.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael. And meetings from May are approved. Our next order of business is a presentation tonight from Harish Birla, who's going to speak to us about cricket. So we'll give him a minute to get set up. If you want to come to the table, just introduce yourself, tell us where you live, and then we'll get the presentation up.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. My name is Harish Birla. I'm a Lower Makefield resident. I also represent an Indian American community, and thank you for taking time to discuss about cricket. Okay. So just to give an overview about cricket, I think you can go to next slide. Next slide has some more information.
They all have a copy of the
Okay.
slides too.
So the cricket is the second largest game in the world. It is picking up in the United States as well. The cricket is played basically in most part of the world: India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, you name it. I think those dots represents the crickets being played across the globe. And in US, since we have a representation from most of those countries, we have started to see an uptick in the cricket requirement. There has been sometimes people are being playing on softball pitches, the baseball games, or the baseball pitches, or sometimes the soccer field, as and when we are able to get the space to play the cricket. There is also a huge major league coming into the United States. There's already US Cricket Association is formed here, and they're also investing heavily across the United States. In Philadelphia, basically, and just to give a quick history, if you go to next slides. Actually, right here in Philadelphia, we had the first cricket team. The first match, which was played between US and Canada, was in 1844. This happened right in this area. In fact, the first team was by a troop, General George Washington. So there is a lot of history around the cricket in this area itself. The Philadelphians, the team that time was, hello? Okay. The team that time was called Philadelphians. And that is a team right now, the minor league is coming up with a similar name because of the historical references. In fact, there is actually a cricket club in Philadelphia. They are still being, they will play with a leather ball. But yeah, there's enough history around here. The cricket has been around a long time. Can we go to the next slide? Just to give a quick overview about where the minor leagues are spreading. Of course, there is in Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, Atlanta, Florida, Texas, California, Seattle. It has been spreading across all those states, and there's a huge demand, not only from just from the community perspective, but the business perspective also. There's a huge demand coming in. Can we go to the next slide? Just to give you a quick overview, so Microsoft CEO bought a team up in Seattle. There's an Adobe CEO has bought a team up in Chicago. I think, I think it's Seattle only. There's a Bollywood stars are buying the team in LA. There's a Florida team has been purchased. So similar format has been getting developed in this country, as well as we have a Major League Baseball or the NFL. This is becoming kind of an alternate sports, and a lot of demand because Caribbean, Australian, UK, everyone is looking to play this particular game. Next slide. So just wanted to bring that perspective here. There's a demand coming up here. There's a community. If you'd asked me about 15 years back, there was not much of a cricket being played in our township. But today, I think that the people are playing the cricket on their driveways. People are playing cricket on their whatever cul-de-sacs, and then they're bringing that cricket to the ground. Sometimes we do find the ground on Sundays or Saturdays to play around. So request over here is we would love to have a ground. It could be a multi-purpose ground, which can be used for something else also, to have where we can bring in the cricket as a sports. There is a training institute up in Warrington in our Bucks County itself, which teaches the cricket as well. So the idea is to bring that game back here. There's a demand is there. It's just that people are not getting it. So people are playing in their, whatever the avenues they have it. So that's my request here. That's why I'm here. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Monica, for, accepting or letting us talk about the cricket. But yeah, that's a quick overview.
Thank you for the introduction to the sport and a brief presentation. I don't know if there's any other members of the board that have any specific questions that you want to ask.
I have a couple of questions I would just ask. What would be the relative dimensions of like a cricket pitch? And what would be like, you said you use like a softball field. So like, I feel like there was like a mound. Can you explain what what a pitch is like and how that kind of, why you can't just use a grass field?
Sure. So the pitch is about like a 24 steps. So the pitch itself does not have a big dimension. However, the cricket ground can be from 65 meters from the center of the pitch till the what we call the boundary. It's about like a 65 meter is the radius, but the pitch itself is about 24 to 25 steps. So that's why you will see us playing on a softball field. But we don't use all that complete triangle. We just use the small section of the pitch.
Understood. And an all grass field doesn't really work for you, right? Because
yeah, all grass field will work fine for us, except that particular section which can be built. Excuse me.
And is that section elevated or anything, or is it?
No, it's not section. I mean, so everything is flat. Everything is flat. So it doesn't have to be elevated. So usually there's the 3 sticks, which is called stumps. So on each end, but no, it has to be flat. Sometimes it can be a little bit grassy. So grassy kind of gives the spin. They actually call the spin. If you have seen the cricket, sometimes people love to bounce the ball. So the grassy kind of gives the different variations, but it's pretty much is a flat surface.
Thank you.
No problem.
Dave, Kim, or the other Mike, any other questions?
I just have a quick.
I have a couple too, so go ahead.
I just want to let you know, the reason we brought this today is not just because Parish came, because people come to me with a lot of different requests. There's so much demand for the field. And Parish, I'm going to be very honest with you, as we really don't have space right now for that, but it's definitely something to consider for future planning. But when Parish came to me, a totally different community group came to me around at the same time and asked for cricket pitch, or if there's something that we could do to give them space. And then I went to a meeting for Bucks County Park and Rec directors, and the whole talk was cricket, cricket, cricket. So I just want to let you know, as a board, that this is something that's up and coming in our area. There is a demand for it, that I had 2 community groups come to me within a month of each other asking for it. So it's just something to look into as we start doing our master planning and we evaluate our facilities moving forward. It might be something worth considering.
I did have a couple of questions, just 'cause, again, we have, obviously, as Monica mentioned, limited field space, and obviously with the existing fields, we have baseball, softball that consumes a lot, and there's soccer, and so, but is there a typical season for cricket?
So the season starts as soon as the spring starts, and the season ends towards, like, I would say, the start of winter.
Okay.
So right now also people are playing the game.
Got it. And then is it more adults right now versus youth, or is it, in terms of the makeup of the playing, like where is your growth coming from? Who's the primary players today? And then what does it look like Like, does youth field the same as the adult size, or do they play on a modified field, smaller?
So there's a training institute which I was talking about has been getting a lot of demand in for an indoor, because of course there's no ground outdoors. But over there we are seeing a lot of youths getting interested in this particular game. So yes, it's predominantly right now, if you have to put a numbers, I would say 60% maybe adults, but 40% kids are playing. But we are seeing the demand in a pipeline coming up for those kind of requirement. And again, it's just not an Indian American community. Like I said, every other, there's international players from each countries. They are getting recruited as a coach in some of the institutes here. So that's again bringing the different kind of a crowd. We have a Caribbean Premier League, which happens right there. So we are getting a lot of Caribbean people like, hey, do you play cricket? I want to play cricket too. So we have been seeing a lot of mix of crowd coming in, and that has a different, variations in terms of age groups.
What about male, female?
So there is a female team getting formed in Westchester. We don't have it here. The young girls have started to play, including I have my daughters, so they love to, at least for a recreational purpose, they actually play. But yes, right now in our area, we have seen more males than females. But in Chester County, in fact, one of the owner of the team in the Chester County was a star player back in India, and she had played on a World Cup. So she's a coach for that one too. So there's a lot of that female crowd is coming to because she's there.
I don't know a lot about the game, but duration of the game, is it like with, baseball's like 9 innings, soccer is timed, what's the typical, how's the game begin? How does it end? Like, so what's the duration? Like, I'm trying to, what I'm trying to get at is like, we know like field availability and like, hey, if there was a way as we start to think down the road is like when other sports are playing and knowing the length of games is like, how do you allocate space based on like that?
Correct.
How many teams are in a league, like all that, just to get an understanding of what the needs could be, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. So there are multiple formats of this cricket. So the one of the longest format is a 5-day cricket, which
What is
is
it, a 5-day?
which is that is called test match, which no one plays this today. I mean, of course, with the professional players plays it. There is, of course, there's a shorter format, which kind of meets with the baseball kind of requirement, which gets finished in like 2 to 3 hours, being both the sides. And that is a more of a fast track. That is where the people love to come in, watch the game, because it's much more faster compared to the 5-day format. 5-day format, no one plays in, including. So there's a shorter format, which I would say about 2 to 3 hours is that maximum period. Like an example I can give you, there was on Exton ground. There's a ground in Exton, PA. They had leagues. They had about 5 different teams play on a Sunday morning till evening. There were like matches after matches were happening, and there were teams coming from all different parts of the states. But that's a smaller format of the game. What we're looking here.
Anybody else have any other questions? I mean, we'd definitely be interested in understanding, where we could find space and how do you fit that in, and where obviously, some fields are just used, year round, but, even exhibitions or just, even one time where they can come in and get the township can get a feel of.
Doug, this is Mike Blundy. I apologize that my video is not working. So, but I did want to, just clarify the space required for a field. Is it 25 yards square or what?
It's a 25 feet.
Pitch part is, right?
So you're talking about the pitch, right, Michael?
Total space.
Yes.
The pitch itself is like a 25 foot. So yeah, so I would say about like a 25 feet is the pitch. The ground itself is about 65 meter radius. So I would say about 130 in a diameter from the center of the pitch.
So
Okay, thank you.
So it's a circle
Yeah, so it's a circle
and
Thank you for-
65 yards across.
yeah.
So like one of the baseball field that's up on the corner here.
Not sure if something can be seen like this.
So the bigger field that's up on the corner of Edgewood and Oxford Valley, is
Yeah.
that a typical?
That's a typical one. For example, sometimes, we do come down here, which is right near tennis court. There's a baseball field.
Yep.
That's the software one. And there's one, I think the school owns it,
Right.
which is again, we only use the one third of the whole ground. I'm not sure if you can see.
Okay.
And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly round, we like multi-purpose one. So initially, I think in one of the Westchester, what they did was there was a space between the two soccer field where the parents used to stand. So that's where they made the pitch. So it was not interfering with this. So yeah. So it was not interfering with disturbing the soccer field grass. It's only in between it. So just an example, it was it.
Is there typically a fence around the field?
It doesn't have to
typically
be
not
have
a
no,
fence?
no, it doesn't have to have fence.
Again, I don't know. So how many, yeah, I guess you call them players, are on a field?
But at any given point of time, there are about 11 to 13, about 15 players
Per team on the field,
on the field. Yeah.
on that side?
Yeah.
And how many do you roster on a team?
So roster is about like 11 to 12, but it can be, you have always a backup, so it can go up to 21. But the 11 are the players who actually plays the game.
But I mean, you don't carry a roster of 20.
No.
No,
No.
so it's like, hey, you're playing today and that's the only 11 that are coming. Rest-
Correct,
No one
correct.
else is coming.
Correct.
You don't sub in and you don't, and is
No.
that the same? So it doesn't matter whether it's youth or adult, right? Because like baseball, you have 9 players on the field, but you carry a roster of, 15.
No, nothing like that. So if there's 11-1, most probably those 11 families or the friends and around who are people coming to support the team.
Got it.
So for soccer is basically constant running. Is cricket the same type of thing where it's just constant running? Or is it more stationary like baseball?
It's more stationary like baseball. Yeah. So yeah, I would consider more stationary like a baseball. And sometimes we do play here on Saturdays. So if you guys are free on a Saturday morning, wherever we can find a ground, we sometimes play around. So,
Yeah, where would you play at?
we have been playing up in this next to the tennis court. I think that's the edge. I think school ground. If I'm
Edgewood Schools.
Edward School Ground.
Tennis court field. It's called the tennis court field. Would you only play on weekends? Like like what is, if do you guys start games at 6 o'clock at night, or is that too late? Or is that like too late because because of the darkness? Is
So let me imagine. So you're saying that the game can you play at the night time, or is it only the weekend?
That's what I was asking. Am I correct in assuming that since it's mostly adults playing, that you wouldn't be looking for you'd be looking for midday times during the weekend? You wouldn't be looking for weeknights, field availability and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the game can be played at the night time unless there's enough lightings around it. Usually we try to play up in the morning, so before the sun comes in, or it becomes too hot. But yeah, it can be played. So there is a night cricket tournament also happens, which starts in the evening time, but there has to be enough lights so that the baller or the guy who hits the ball is called batsman can see the ball. But yeah, so in that the lighting becomes a discussion then.
Like right now, like when you're playing, are you mostly playing on weekends, or are you playing?
Yeah, only on weekends, early in the mornings.
Now, if field availability was a weeknight availability, would that, and you played at 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, would that be something that, or based on your members, that's just, not accessible to them. Or,
No, I think it's accessible. It's just that because there's not enough light, so the people tend to then come on a weekend. So I mean, if the ground is available in the evening times, then I'm sure people will like to come in. But it kind of has a different flavor in the nighttime compared to morning playing. So sometimes people want to play in the morning compared to nighttime. Nighttime, people come in and it becomes more like a exhibition, fun events. I think the one in Ben Salam, they actually do a night cricket. So that time they will get a food trucks outside and everything. So it becomes more like a fun event other than just going and playing a cricket.
got it.
Okay, and
Right.
just to follow up, I did ask Parish to participate in the needs assessment as part of the committee that we pulled together. So we're meeting tomorrow, and Parish will be part of that committee so we can see if there's a community need
Great.
for something like this.
I appreciate you taking the time. It's been, I have to go on YouTube and try to watch some so I can get
No, absolutely. Or else
a little bit more educated and,
or come on Saturday morning. All right. Thank you. Thanks for your
all
time.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, liaison, is there anybody in online waiting from any organizations?
There's one public comment on this one. We have
Okay.
Dinesh on the line.
Just whoever's on the line, could you just give us your name and address?
My name is Dinesh Popala. I'm the resident in Yardley, PA, for more than 5 years. As a way of introduction, I agree with what Parish has mentioned, but what I want to add is a couple of things. I've been playing the game of cricket for the past 20 years in the US, from California to Connecticut to now in Pennsylvania. Two things that I want to add is I run one of the oldest clubs in Philadelphia Cricket League, and we travel close to an hour and a half every weekend, the entire summer, to play games there. As Monica mentioned earlier, that there was another group that approached her. I believe she was referring to me because I reached out to her independently to have a cricket field. So we have to travel a lot, considering there are a lot of people here. And the second thing is we also want to promote this game at the grassroots level of the schools, right? Before moving to Pennsylvania, I was in Connecticut, and I, in collaboration with the United States Youth Cricket Association, went into the public schools. We gave some equipment to the PT teachers and promoted the game, started to promote the game at the grassroots level. So that is something long-term that we are thinking as a club. And then we're happy to collaborate with anybody in the area to promote this game. Those are the two comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the additional comments. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next order of business. Again, thank you for coming in. YMS, you're up. Thanks for coming in tonight. Good.
Glad to be here. Yeah, I couldn't really hack the full online meetings. I couldn't keep track of it. Mike Hansen, YMS Soccer. Been living here now for 20-ish years, 13 Houston Road. So quick update, two things. One, we had the Columbus Cup tournament this weekend. So we were down overall on numbers. I think a combination of competing tournaments and, ongoing pandemic related issues, but everything went really smoothly. So we're happy with the outcome overall. And then, the regular fall season is ongoing for travel. And actually, one of the things that we've been really buoyed about is our rec program is at record levels of participation. So, I would say, and I think, Monica, we've been trying to rest some of the fields. We've been trying to rehabilitate Field F. So, I would just say again to the board that, obviously, more space is required. We've got obviously even brand new user group I've never encountered before. So I hope that, maybe we can get, out of the master planning and into the building of more space for these kids to play soccer or baseball or football or cricket. So it's desperately needed.
What do you think is driving your record numbers? Is it because, is it they're coming from other sports, or I think we're seeing an influx of new, younger people into the community. People are selling their homes that are older in age, and you got younger families, and
I think there's definitely been, I actually sold my house and moved into a different house, but, the real estate market, absolutely. So, I think, more and more people coming in and, maybe just also, again, coming out of the restrictions of the pandemic, maybe that, more people were interested in, getting out and doing things. I see more people, I feel like, over the last 18 to 24 months, more people are still out walking, riding bikes, jogging. So, maybe that's going to be one of the, unanticipated benefits of this situation. So, we probably need more recreational space on many levels. Questions for YMS?
anybody on virtual have any questions?
Well, thanks for holding the hybrid meeting. I greatly
Thanks for coming in
appreciate being
person.
here
Appreciate it. All right, Monica, your turn. Nice.
So I'm just going to go through a number of things all on one slide deck, and feel free to ask as we go along any questions. So I'm going to start out with Community Day date proposals for the next 3 years. Really need to plan pretty far out so we can plan for next year. It is still close to 9/11 for us, and even though we don't have a huge event to plan this year, we still have an event to plan, and having them a week apart is really difficult for us. So I propose instead of Labor Day weekend again, we go for that last weekend, last Saturday in August for all 3 years. And if anybody has any discussion or questions about that, we did have some discussion internally about possibly moving it to a fall event like in October. But then, then we get very close to another large event, which is the parade, the Veterans Day Parade. We also start competing then with the Falls Township Community Day, all the other community days. Everybody else does theirs.
Katy Brook, you got the Harvest Day, you got
Right.
different other functions that are.
Yes, all the fall festivals that are going on.
This year it was similar in date, right?
The date was the same this year.
And I know it was a COVID year, but what was?
Well, it was
what
more
the
a rainy
turnout?
year. I think
Yeah.
that I think our dilemma was the rain. Believe it or not, we did have a decent turnout for rain. I can't tell you offhand exactly how many people. It was lower than I'd like. But there were lines all day for the rides. And I think who missed out a little bit was our vendors, because people came for rides and not the people who would ordinarily come shopping at the vendors. They weren't out. So, that's where we lacked a little bit, but I think it's a great weekend. It's just the weather wasn't great for us this year.
Do we need to,
We would need to make a motion to recommend these dates to the Board of Supervisors.
I just, sorry, I can't speak tonight. I have one question. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Kim?
So my only question, and this was the first year where it wasn't Labor Day, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I guess my only concern is I feel like that is a big vacation right before school starts week. Like people go away that last week in August before the week that school starts, which I guess it's hard to gauge this year if attendance was down because it was rainy and it's COVID and all of those things. But I feel like Labor Day it's actually kind of a good time frame because then everyone's back in school and then everyone looks forward to like that first weekend and having community day and fireworks and all of that. But I get what you're saying about it being close to 9/11, so it makes it a little harder. But that would be my only question is how many people are on vacation and is attendance down because of that?
Kim, it'd be really hard to say without really getting to experience this year.
Yeah.
its prime. I think a lot of people travel on Labor Day weekend too, so it's kind of
Yeah,
hard
that's
between
true.
the two.
Yeah,
So
I
if
mean, I
we
don't,
vote for like 3 years worth of proposed dates and then see that the traffic's down, then could, a year or two into it, it be switched back to Labor Day if everyone felt like that made more sense?
Yeah, we could change it. If you don't feel comfortable, or you don't want to continue, we could reevaluate and change it. It's just trying to, really for us, it helps to have some consistency with sponsorship. So we can get sponsorship further in advance and really try to build up the event. So, changing it, that might hurt in that way, but I mean, we could do it.
but if the event is not as successful as you want, the sponsors would probably welcome a change to the Labor Day week anyway, because there's more people. So, I mean, I don't disagree with Kim, because I think I probably would have, I think my inclination was to stick with the Labor Day just by more people with kids are probably staying local because of they're not doing a full travel because they know school's in session, right?
Mhm.
So, but I don't have any issues with sticking with it at least next year and seeing, weather's weather, whether it's a Labor Day or not a Labor Day, weather is always going to be a factor.
That was
Yeah, I
certainly
feel
a
like we
factor
can't-
this year.
Yeah, we can't judge based on this year, and I'm all for trying a different date. And if there's amazing turnout and amazing, community response to the date, then great, keep it like that.
Oh, we need to, go ahead, Michael. Sorry, I
I
can't
was
see
going to
you.
ask if we approved the motion from 22 to 24, would we still have the ability to potentially modify it to modify 24 at a later date, or would that or would that preclude us? Would we be better off just going 22 and 23 and leaving the 24th open? Or I guess we could amend the motion to be 22 and 23 to 24 with leaving it open for reevaluation next year or something. But
Why don't you just, if you feel that way, why don't we do 22, 23? And then we'll vote in 22 after the event.
to go a few years out.
Yeah, and we'll plan a few years out.
And then if I could also just add as a side note, my team, the 8U baseball team ran some of the booths at this year's event. And it was even with the cold, rainy days, the first cold day of the year, it was really awesome. And it was a really great fundraiser for the team also. So thank you to everybody from Park and Rec and the board, your department that helped facilitate that day, because I know all the kids had a lot of fun. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, everybody really had a great time. So it was cool. Thank you.
Yeah, Mike did very well even in the rain. So I can't even imagine what a sunny day would be for you.
Yeah, I mean, we that was our biggest fundraiser of the year by far. Well, I'll make
Go ahead, Mike. Why don't you, if somebody wants to make a motion to recommend the community day date proposal.
Why don't I make the community day date proposal, recommend approving Saturday, August 27th, 2022 and Saturday, August 26th, 2023 for community day date proposal.
Second.
All in favor?
Is there any public comment?
Any public comment? Nobody on the line?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, so that proposal has passed.
Next, I wanted to review with you what projects we were able to complete in 2021. We went over this for pre-budget last year. Just wanted to show you what we were and are still getting done. There is even more than what we had anticipated, which is great. Community center doors are in progress. We are dealing with some of the issues related to COVID and shipping. So we're actually waiting for the doors themselves to arrive. I believe now that's the last thing. And hopefully we'll have them up in the next month. The goal was to have them up in August before the seniors came back to the community center. Unfortunately, we've just run into hurdle after hurdle. So they will be done soon. We are in progress with the needs assessment and the PR strategic plan, or the Park and Rec strategic plan. We are having our first needs assessment committee meeting next week, and we will be planning a open forum for the community at some point in some way, and look out for surveys that we're going to be sending out to the community soon.
Is it, sorry, there's a committee meeting. Do we know who's on the committee?
I can share you the list. There's 7 between League and Girl Scout representation. I have 7 community member Boy Scout representation that are on the committee. I can review that with you as I pull up my list. I don't want to leave anybody out. Memorial Park, we are going to repair the patching that needed to be done at Memorial Park Playground. Unfortunately, really nobody wanted to come in and patch a broken project from a company that doesn't exist. They would much rather just redo it on their own. So we've made up a temporary fix that's safe. Not the best case scenario, but it is what it is. Generally speaking, you do have to rehab rubberized surfaces every 7 years. So we're looking to put that in the 2023 budget. So it won't be going into the 2022 budget. That's about $60,000, a little bit too much for next year, but I'm hoping that we can do that in 2023. And that's about the time that you would need to replace.
Do we expect the temporary solution to last till 2023, or do you have to account for more funds in 2022 to?
If we do, it'd be
Other
very
temporary,
minor.
okay.
It'd be like a temporary
Temporary over the
fix.
temporary,
Yes,
okay.
yes. So something we were able to do that we weren't anticipating is at Fred Allen Fields, we were able to do surface grinding, laser leveling, and adding turfus, which is this type of a dirt stone that helps absorb the water off the surface. The fields have been fantastic. It's really been a great addition. So we did 1 field, PAA did 2 fields. So we were able to do between the 2 of us, all of Fred Allen together. It really turned out nice. The water, after one of the hurricanes, I went out there and took a picture. There was absolutely no water on. I mean, the surface was soft, but there was no water on the surface. It's really been a great thing. I think that now we have to really discuss with PAA, and I've been discussing with Noel, maintenance and how it's done out there. Really, it's very important that, that we have to remove the bases. So we're coming up with a way that we remove the bases. We do small circles for maintenance and that type of thing. In order to maintain this. Every year we'll have to add a little bit of turfus. And I'm looking to do more fields, hopefully with PAA in 2022, which you'll see coming up soon.
So that turfus doesn't, you don't have to set it, let it, and then redo it completely in several years. You can add some additional turfus each year just to keep it at a certain level. Is there a way to measure like how much you need to do, or versus a complete redo at some point?
If you really want a top quality field, you would do something like that every year.
Okay.
But we don't have, we're working on a municipal budget. So we're trying to rotate through the fields every year. So I'm trying to put money aside every year to cycle through the fields. And as long as we maintain very well, our drainage should be a lot better than it has ever been. So, that's just going to be something that we're looking to add to the budget every year, a few fields here and there. So you'll see that in the 2022 budget proposal. This year for pool repairs, I didn't break them out for you last year because it was a whole bunch of smaller repairs that we had to do, but there's always something. Slide cracks, there was cracking in the slides that had to be repaired. The high dive, there was some dry rotting in the railings that had to be repaired. Refrigerator repair, slide pump repair, light poles that had to be replaced and reinstalled. And all that was about $60,000 in work. There was also some other minor repairs that happened. But I just wanted to bring to your attention that stuff is happening at the pool, but they're in smaller chunks, not big projects. So I didn't necessarily bring each one of them to the board. They were in the budget, but just wanted to make sure that you're aware of what was going on at the pool. pretty common. So for 2022, in 2021, we wanted to do the community park, tennis courts, crack repair. There's some cracks out there that are pretty significant. When we went and got cost estimates, the cost estimates were much higher. I don't know if it's more COVID related or not. Originally, it was going to be about 25,000. When we went to get estimates this year, it was 60,000.
And that's the one right here.
The one right by the pool. Yep. So that we're looking to repair next year.
When we
With
say
more
next
money.
year, is that
2022.
like, is that a beginning of the year fix or a middle of the year, end of the year? Like,
Well, we always start these projects out at the beginning of the year. We were having last year trouble getting bids because it was a small project. Then prices changed in everything. So when we went out and tried to get more cost estimates, they were way above bid threshold. 60,000 being the best one. So we will have to put this out to bid next year. But we are looking to put $60,000 aside for that project alone. Woodside Bike Path, this is being funded in a number of different grant situations. I believe the township will be matching. So we're looking at that as for a 2022 project. Memorial Park project, tennis and pickleball is started. I'm hoping to complete it by the end of this year, but there's been one holdup after the next and I can't 100% guarantee it. So what I'm going to say is 2022 is going to be complete. Bike path repair. We do have a 3-year plan. Initially, we put out that the bike path repair that we were planning to do for 2022 was going to be about $42,000. Now with the new prices of everything, we're estimating about $60,000. Also in 2022, we're looking to do 2 fields across the road at Keola with the turfus and laser grading, just like we did this year. I'm hoping that we can partner with PAA again. Maybe they could do 1 or 2 fields over there too. And I'm sorry if I overspoke Noel. I apologize in advance. Memorial Park East project. We're looking to do at least the pavilion next year. So we're looking to do this in phases. We have some fee in lieu money that we would be able to put towards the pavilion. And possibly in 2023, you'll see we're looking to do a full playground out there. As part of the projects that were meant to be done, we're just trying to get all that project done. So pavilion is more like it.
the pavilion is it gonna be more like the Makefield, just an open pad of cement in the pavilion? Or was there a restroom that was on that?
Well, we did not plan for a restroom originally. I think that's the discussion that needs to be had is we are building a lot on that east side of the park with nowhere for people to go to the bathroom. So it's either we put porta potties out there or we do it right and maybe put some kind of bathroom out there. There's a lot of ways to do it. We can look in rather than doing plumbing, we can do something else. We'll have to look at it to keep the price down. But I think as part of that pavilion, we should consider bathrooms. So good question. And then the community trail should be out to bid, I'm hoping, by the end of this year, and then complete in 2022.
That's a 700,000 grant, not $700. Is that correct?
Oh, that's supposed to be a comma.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
That's supposed to be a
Well, as
comma.
the township's funding. A lot of that.
Thank you, Doug. That's supposed to be a comma. And it's going to be about $780,000 the project. 2023, this might be 2023 and beyond. It might be a little ambitious of a list, but I even have more, believe it or not. I could go way into the future. Skylar tennis courts, I'd really like to see on the 2023 project. I think Memorial Park will be done by then. We could kind of shift things around so that we could really dig into those Skylar tennis courts. We have some time to put together some money for that. Memorial Park playground, or the rubberization, like we talked about the rubberizing, the current playground, $60,000 about for that. Bike path repair, we updated the original 2022 bike path repair plan. We will have to update the cost estimates to the 2023 bike path repair. I just don't have those cost estimates yet. Memorial Park East, this is where we can continue into the playground. I was looking at the playground plan for Memorial Park East, and with the size of that park and the amount of people in that park, I do believe that we grossly underestimated the size of the playground that we'd be putting in. That'd be more like a playground for a neighborhood, residential neighborhood versus like a park that, people are coming to. When I'm looking at cost estimates of people who recently did parks, give you example, Warwick did a park, it was about somewhere around $280,000, and that was wood mulch surface. I could tell you Lions Pride Park was just done. That was about a $2 million project, very high, not necessarily looking to go that high. So I think a realistic estimate for size, a more Memorial Park with rubberized surface would be somewhere around $500,000 to $1 million. So I think we need to be a little bit more realistic with that price point. I did ask Andy to take a look at that in particular. And maybe we can come back to the park board with more of a review on that.
Monica,
yes.
would there be grant money for that?
There is potential grant money. That was something I asked Andy to look into too, is to see what kind of potential grants we can look into for possible, playground and pavilion to finish out the project and dig into, that. But that would be a great idea to try and find some grant funding for that.
Thank you.
So with that being said, I've been looking into other townships and our pocket parks, and our pocket parks are very outdated or, really are just a mishmash of equipment. I'd like to start looking into a rotational life cycle replacement of our pocket parks. Generally, a playground at a pocket park would be replaced in about 20-year lifespans. It's 2 lifetimes. Two generations of family get through before you replace it. I'd like to start at Heacock. It's about, I'm putting in here as a cost estimate about $200,000 because that's what Middletown is doing per pocket park is right around that price. I'm just trying to look at price points. But, I'd like to pick a pocket park and kind of rotate through maybe every year until we finally get into that 20-year lifespan cycle. So just putting some money aside for that. And then we talked about the transition plan. One of the places to look to start would be the Veterans Square, which is $65,000 in projects, mostly parking lot and accessibility and striping, what needs to get done out there. So that would be a 2023. And another one to consider, and like I said, this is a very ambitious, lofty 2023 plan. Reality might set us back a little bit, but Makefield Park, I went and did an assessment of Makefield Park baseball fields, and they're in really bad condition. In order to bring them back to where they need to be, it's about $200,000 per field of rehab. Not something that we can do just by keep on adding dirt. It's something that really just needs to be done. It'd be great if we could start considering that as a project too. There's a bunch of other projects, pool parking lot that needs to be done, Makefield Park parking lot, and there's a ton of things that we just need to get through over the years, but these are some, higher level flags that I see coming up in the next few years.
This is just existing parks we have,
not new parks.
New.
Mm-hmm. But with a good maintenance plan into the future, hopefully we're not getting bombarded all at once. That's the goal, is to kind of do more preventative maintenance along the way so that we don't have a lot of things needing replaced at the same time. So that's kind of the long-term goal. So if anybody has any questions about this, I'd be glad to answer them. Yes. It was in the spring. It was just the baseball fields. It was someone who specializes in baseball fields. I know, but I do assess the fields frequently, and I do understand the problems out on the soccer fields as well.
What was the question?
The question was if we assessed any other fields at Makefield Park other than baseball fields. And we do regularly assess them. This was just a different assessment with a specialist who does baseball fields for a living. And we wanted to get a feel for some of the issues we feel, like the lips and, you know, more safety concerns at Makefield baseball fields. Sure. It was just a consultation, free of charge. Yeah. Yes, yes. Mhm. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I've been poor with my microphone. Can you hear me better now? We good? Oh, YMS needs to go. Okay.
We hear you. We don't hear the questions from YMS.
Mike, if you want to, do you have any more questions?
I have no additional questions. Do I need to restate any of my questions?
We picked them up. You're good.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
We will get better at hybrid.
I have a tennis court question.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, in the course of talking about like the costs to redo the tennis courts, have you guys talked to Mike Creemans at all yet? Because he kind of just casually mentioned at a tennis practice the other day that he is a contractor that can redo tennis courts for $12,000 a court.
He did call me. We did have a discussion. Our problems are very structural and a little deeper than a surface fix. We've
Okay.
been patching for a number of years. So I had the engineers take a look at it, and their estimates were much higher than 12,000 a court in repairs. But that might be good for other courts that aren't as bad as Skylar. You ready to move on?
I believe so.
Okay, so fees and charges for, oh, this is supposed to be 2022, apologize. For 2022. So with all of the wage increases across the globe, we are looking to increase wages, and we are working through that right now, doing assessments of what other pool facilities in the area, what shopping, you know, what it would cost or what you would be paid to work a ShopRite, Sesame Place. We're doing assessments right now to determine what would be ideal fees for our staff, pay for our staff and wages. After we get through that, we will likely need to increase membership fee. I wish I could give that to you today. Unfortunately, we have not done a real fair assessment of that. We're not ready to give those numbers out yet. Just want to make sure that, you know, I say it today, that there will likely be increase in membership fees for the pool. And the same for summer camp, likely increase in fees for summer camp after wage analysis. Swim team, there has been mention back and forth a little bit about swim team paying league fees. I didn't put it in there yet because I felt it would be a healthy discussion for the board. Right now, they do not pay league fees. They participants pay for memberships. And then they pay for participation in the league, but they do not pay anything back to the township. And the reason I'm bringing this up is really there are a number of additional hours that we open the pool specific to the leagues that nobody else can come. So we're open early in the morning. Our staff come in as early as 5 in the morning prior to the pool opening. I think the swim team comes in around 6 and they're here until I think noon, Monday through Friday. They come in Saturdays for meets, and they're here late for meets on weeknights. It's not every day that the meets happen, but when they do, we do have to flex our staff, call our staff back in. We have set hours. There's a lot of flexibility that we have to have specific to the swim team, in excess of what a general membership is. I would be willing to open the discussion to the board. I don't know if you're aware of that. But if anybody has any questions about that, I'd be glad to open up the discussion.
Mike, I see you took your speaker off mute. So Michael Brody, you have a comment or a question?
So they just, if I got like a family membership, then I can just join the swim team, and then I would just pay the Yardley Swim Club fee, like I guess whatever the league fee is. That's it.
Yeah,
Do you know what that fee is?
I don't off the top of my head, no.
But again, that fee probably goes to,
Back to the swim team.
The club, right? Yeah. And the logic there was like no user fee because we're charging them for something, I guess.
I don't know. That no user fee has been in place, obviously, before Monica. It was here,
Yeah.
For as long as I've been around. So, but if you start to look at comparable to all the other leagues in the township, and clearly Monica can identify all the costs, but basically the members of the swim team pay a membership to the pool, but if they get extra benefits for no additional cost to the township, plus Monica's staff, there's extra cost to the township to be there both early and late, plus whatever other maintenance is required. So my opinion is they're no different than PAA, YMS, or any other organization that's using township facilities and should be paying user fee, whether they're a resident or non-resident. And that may, no different than the other leagues, it may not capture 100% of the cost of the township, so it probably will still be somewhat subsidized, out of because all that money is coming out of the pool budget. So the members of the pool, right, are technically paying for the swim team for something that they don't necessarily benefit from. There's another way to look at it, is that, if you join the pool, you're using the pool hours, but you're now subsidizing the swim team. And I don't know if the members actually know that or not.
And it's interesting though, because they probably don't get as much unique team usage as the other leagues. But on the flip side, I would assume that the man hours paid for the pool coverage is, I would have to assume, I could be totally wrong, would be much higher than, the leagues where beyond cutting grass and whatever maintenance they're doing at the fields. I personally would support some degree of a fee, even if it's not necessarily the full user fee that we typically charge, but I definitely would support some degree of a fee.
Yeah, I don't see, what's the user fee? It's
$16.
Michael.
32.
I don't know.
$16.32.
I thought it was
So
50. I don't know. I thought it was 50.
Oh, it could be
16.
15 and 32. I was just
15 and 32. So I don't see, my opinion is there's no reason to discount the user fee at all, because I think what's that?
I thought it was 50. I don't know why. I thought it was way higher. So yeah, I agree with you.
And they don't, and again, because it's the pool, there's, unlike the other organizations that put in a lot of sweat equity and do a lot of other maintenance that the township does benefit from. I don't believe that they're cleaning the pool, restacking the chairs, cleaning the tables, putting them all back after the end of the day, like there are other organizations. I could be wrong, but so those are costs that the townships has to assume. So I don't know if we need to make a motion.
Well, we could include it in the overall motion for fee changes.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody else have any other questions on swim team or comments before Monica moves on to the other lines?
I just, Mike Blundy, I just, I think it's reasonable to, ask for, what all the other participants are paying in the leagues. It's, $15 for a resident, 32 for a non-resident. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but those fees go into the general fund, don't they?
They go to the park and rec. The swim team fees would go back to the pool fund.
Okay, because the regular fees that the kids play baseball, softball, soccer, and everything, those fees go into the general fund. They don't come into the park department budget.
They come into the park department. They directly benefit the park budget.
And and the pool budget is in the park budget?
The pool budget is completely separate.
Separate. So this would be, technically, to Dave's point, these user fees would be
Go to the pool.
pool fund.
Okay.
We can do that, even though it's a user, it would be just, it would have to be a different user fee.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because if they're using, yeah, for all the points that everyone's made, yes.
I'm just from an accounting, because all the other technical, it would have to be a different user fee than the.
No, I mean, all the fees go into one fee outline, but they're broken up the way they need to be. So any pool related fee, any pool membership fee, all that goes back to the pool
Got it.
automatically. Would you like me to continue on with the other fees?
Yes.
Okay. Right now for a pool picnic pavilion, the other pavilion, $15 an hour. Pool picnic pavilion is $10 an hour. I'd like to increase that to $15 an hour. Swim lessons for the first child. Our swim lessons are very, very low as it is. You generally see about $65, $60, $70 swim lessons. So we are looking to increase swim lessons by $5 for first and second child. And then private swim instruction right now is $25 for a half hour. Looking to keep that the same, but what we're looking to do is be able to offer semi-private lessons up to 3 children of the same level. Each additional child would be $15 for the half hour.
So how many are in the swim lessons? That's a group of
Like 11.
11. So someone could spend 40. I'm just trying to compare, like it's $50. A group lesson is how long? Like
That's an hour.
an hour,
Mhm.
but they could get for $40 for a half hour.
So, I mean, maybe we
Be
should,
$80 an hour, right? I'm just trying to get the,
but it's based on availability too. They have to be able to get one and they're not.
I was just doing the math to see like what the value, like, hey, if I could,
I mean, we can up the price of a private swim instructor too. Bring that up
I just,
to $30 for the half hour for the one-on-one. And then
Could you know when the last time we raised these fees was?
these particular fees, I believe the swim
Relatively.
lessons.
No, just like all these different pool fees. Like, did we raise them last year, or have these been stable for like a few years? Like, I guess
These have been stable for a while.
might have been 2019.
We didn't
for
use
the
to
pool
charge the
membership, right?
picnic pavilion at all. It used to be free. About 2 or 3 years ago, we changed it to $10 an hour.
The pool closed in 2020, so I don't remember if it was 2019 or 18. That we
It was 8. I
increased
don't know.
in the membership fees. I don't know about the,
It was 18 or 19 for increase in fees. And I'm doing a full side-by-side analysis of all the other pools and their membership fees. We are definitely the lowest pool membership across the board, even for a non-resident to be a member. We are the lowest annual or summertime membership pool fee for membership. But we're trying to do more of a side-by-side comparison, and unfortunately, I just have been able to pull that together before tonight's meeting.
No, I get that. I guess I just want to be cognizant, especially for the next time we do it, that like, how often we're doing rate increases, like, rather than drips and drabs. I'm personally a bigger fan of a bigger one that lasts longer, but this is good for this year, but I think just for the next time we do it, it would be nice to see kind of like the historical trend of that, not just the current year.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the wages and pay in this area has jumped
Drastic.
significantly in the last year. And
Oh.
I think it's going to be a lot in order to get these kids to work for us. I mean, maybe not the most compared to anywhere else, but it's going to have to be pretty significant in order to get some good candidates and be competitive.
Makes sense.
Monica,
Yes.
the swim lessons for the first child from 45 to 50, that's just for 1 hour? Or is that
It's
like
6
for,
weeks.
it's how many weeks?
Good point. 6 weeks.
All right,
It's 6
so,
weeks of lesson
For $50.
for $50.
Oh, okay.
So
So
it's-
then the hourly, then the other one per hour, then that's priced properly.
It is priced properly. Maybe like I just, thanks, Mike.
okay.
Any other questions?
No, are these the only, is all these fees and is this just specific to the pool or are there other fees changes within the township park and rec?
Right now, no, just it's mostly a pool and the summer camp where, our costs are, we're incurring more costs, so we're going to have to increase the fees.
So we don't really need to prove anything because you don't have anything on the membership in summer camp yet to come back to. So,
Well, what I wanted to tell the board, because there is an initial budget meeting, that I'm going to have to bring something before the BOS, I believe it's November 6th at the budget meeting. I can keep you in the loop, but I want you to know, and we can discuss, or we can have another meeting if you'd like. But I might have to present this to the BOS.
yeah, I just think we can't vote on something that we don't know.
Well, we can vote on the ones that are for sure.
Right, but then you'd have to come back for
Or,
the pool and this
Right.
summer camp.
right. I definitely want to keep you in the loop. I just know that I have a BOS initial budget presentation. They're not voting on the,
It's just a budget presentation, so
we include the fees usually in the budget presentation.
I think everybody would like to see what the,
Well, let me, I'll double check on the protocol, make sure that maybe we can bring the fees back later. I just want to make sure that we're doing it we're advertising it in the way that we.
yeah, and to Mike's point, just say, hey, the last increase was in, because I'm sure the board of supervisors are going to want to know that anyway, so
I believe it was 18 or 19.
what that increase was, so, and then,
Okay,
all right, and then propose.
you got it. So I can come back to you with all of this if you want. Do you want me to do it as a package deal?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, unless anybody disagrees, but I'd rather vote on it in its entirety.
Sounds good. Moving on. Naming policy, I left this blank, but as a placeholder, we have discussed the naming policy a number of times. I sent it to you again, just so you could see it. I wanted to know if tonight was the night that we were feeling good about approving it, should the board choose, or if there's anything that I need to modify on it before I bring it to the BOS.
Is Dennis on the phone?
Dennis is not here tonight, Michael. But I believe this was the last
Are we
iteration.
Are we going to approve the Dennis Wasaki naming policy without Dennis Wasaki here?
No, we can table this to the next meeting that Dennis is in attendance on, but I believe this has not changed since his last iteration
No.
approval, and
I'm joking. I'd be fine to approve it anyway, personally, but I'd love to hear what other people think, especially Kim, and because I don't think she was one when we went over.
I didn't catch what Michael said.
He said he'd like to hear what Kim has to say since she has.
I'd like to hear what like the newer people who weren't on the board and may not have gone over the naming policy, if they have any opinions on it or anything.
I mean, I was on one of the initial meetings, I think, about it. And I think the main question at that time that I had was just if it was someone that lived in the township or worked in the township. And then I think we came up with like influential in the township. So that was my main question. I think everything is good where it is now.
And I think that was taken into an account. I think that's in here now in
Yeah.
terms of,
I move for its adoption.
I'll second that. Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
right, we have a second.
I'll second that.
Is there any public comment? No public comment?
No public comment.
Okay. All in favor of approving Lower Makefield Township's Park and Recreation naming policy, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Monica, it's approved. Take to the Board of Supervisors.
Right, that's great news. All right, we talked a lot about Memorial Park today. I just wanted to show you a pretty updated picture. This is the new tennis/pickleball court on the east side of the park. It is paved, hopefully fencing going in soon, and hopefully we'll have people playing out there soon. So I'll keep you updated as I get updates. And that's that. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Does the surface stay that color, or will the color change?
The surface will be painted.
Do we get a color scheme for the kitchen and the courts for the pickleball courts? Why are you laughing?
I thought it was a community center reference.
What's that?
I'm sure we can get a color palette. I will ask Andy for one and send it to everybody. Yeah.
They do have different colors for the kitchen and the. Didn't know if they made a decision or they asked anybody before they.
No, I mean, they have a professional designer that.
Yeah, but there's different choices they can make, so.
Yes. You're very excited. And then as far as community park tennis court, we did go over that during the project discussion, how the prices came in a little high. We're looking to do that in 2022. Boy Scout project. There is this shade structure is up at Veterans Square. It looks very nice. We are working on the shade structure at the dog park, hopefully soon. I should hear more about that. And the signs are up at Memorial Park, the mile marker signs. So those projects are complete or in motion. So those are the three, I think, outliers, unless if I'm missing one.
Only because I'm there every day, twice a day usually, but I know I talked to you about the seating on that large side on the dog park.
The seating?
Grass seating and maintenance.
Oh, seating and maintenance. Oh, yeah, that's one of our bajillion of projects, but we are going to be overseeding and filling holes at the dog park. So we did close the large side of the dog park in order to do some maintenance, and then we'll be flipping back hopefully soon. I'll give you an update on that soon.
Everybody else.
And next is the zero waste plan that I've been working on with the EAC. I'll be presenting it to them on Thursday, but I would love to hear what your feedback is. This is an initial draft copy, not a final copy. But what I wanted to share with you is the EAC did do an assessment of our trash to recycle. And this, I have to say, became a little bit of a passion project for me. Like I was looking into the history of the township and, where we were as far as recycling since the recycling movement started 80s, 90s. Very interesting history. We're very good at a lot of things, but I feel like in the parks we can improve some of our options. So I want to go over this with you today. So when the EAC did their assessment of our waste receptacles, it was 12-1 waste receptacles to recycle bins in our parks, which I found to be very sad. And then when I thought about it, I said, we really don't have that many recycle bins in our parks, so we have to improve. This is a picture out at one of our basketball courts. And it isn't interesting that there are 2 bins here. They're just waste bins and all these recycles here. So I think something that we should talk about is a little bit about placement, where we're placing things, making things convenient. Not sure that it'll solve the entire problem, but this is usual morning at the basketball courts. I could tell you, there's quite a few bottles out there almost every morning. Another thing that they found was, and I don't think they intended to find this, was that when they were doing the report, there were so many different various shades, shapes, sizes. Every single trash bin was different. There were even different variations of brown and blue, and they're all over our parks. Super inconsistent. So that's consistency was something that we found to be a little bit of an issue. And there's really no labeling on the trash, whether they're for waste or, whatever they're supposed to be. That's kind of what the findings were. So from that, myself and the staff, we took that and we kind of came up with a zero waste plan, kind of like a 20-year plan for the parks. And we would like to create a recycling opportunity for every one waste receptacle. We'd like to see a matching recycle bin, that this is just a baseline start. Align the plan with the ADA transition plan. So there was a lot of trash can placement issues when we did the ADA transition plan. So just making sure that we follow along with that plan when we're considering placement. We'd like to develop a plan for special events. So what would a requirement be when someone comes to us with a special event for recycling? Develop a way to measure the success of the program and really work on educating the community and staff about the program so it actually comes to fruition. So one of the things that we talked about is standardizing the look and feel of our trash and recycle throughout all of our parks. I'm not saying that this is the cans that we're going to choose, but this is an option. A combination like this is a 3-can option is about $1,500. So it's like, would take us years to be able to standardize the trash bins, or unless if we could come up with some kind of grant opportunity for a recycle initiative.
So
Like that.
Today, the township, your employees are responsible for collecting all the trash at all the park. We don't have, we're not using a service, right? Do any of the trash collection?
No, we remove all the trash. We dump all the trash. So that's coming up soon. That's going to be one of our barriers is manpower. Making sure that things are not contaminated, and how far will that go into the park and rec staff. And then we had to identify barriers, which we did do. You'll see that coming up, and define potential funding sources will be one of our challenges. One of the zero waste education ideas that the staff and I came up with was the idea of a nudge campaign. So nudge campaign is a campaign that kind of puts it in your face and makes things convenient for you to do. So you're not walking out of your way to find a recycle bin where it's right there for you. So that's part of placement. But one of the ideas was this Susie Recycles campaign. So maybe take people in our township, maybe a PAA athlete throwing out a recycle and making posters in the park of all the ball fields with PAA uniform person throwing out, say, Susie Recycles, how about you? Or Bobby Recycles, how about you? So it might be someone that you actually know, you see them, it's in your face. An example of a nudge campaign would be, say you're going into a hotel and it says 98% of our people reuse, our patrons reuse their towels. So you see that and you're like, oh, I should reuse my towels. You know what I mean? It kind of is a way to be in your face a little bit about it, but to encourage good behavior. So we were looking at doing something like that. But something, by doing that, that helps, the process along. We also wanted to make something that's easily identifiable, which we can start out by just putting stickers on the bins, recycle and waste. Even if they look the same, at least there's something that's easy identifiable, but the idea would to make the look be consistent across all the parks. So wherever you go in Lower Mayfield Parks and Recreation, that you're going to consistently find a waste bin, recycle bin, and then, down the line, maybe that will expand. And then another would be providing education to my staff and emphasizing the importance of, making sure that stuff goes into the right bins. Some of the barriers that we have are, right now we get contamination charges. They're little charges, but they add up. I believe it's like $16 a contamination. So what Waste Management does is they have a camera on the back of their vehicle. And when they're dumping recycle bins, someone's watching the camera. And if they see something that's a contaminant in the bin, they charge you. Plastic bags, these things ruin their machines. So, they charge us for that, like a removal fee. When the stuff is contaminated, a lot of times it just ends up in the waste and the trash anyway. So it's very important that we kind of mindful of contamination charges. Manpower, it will require more from my staff to make sure that the bins are separated properly and that there aren't contaminants. I don't know if there's another way to do that. That's something that we should definitely explore in order to make this feasible. The cost, the expense of replacing bins and making the look and feel appropriate, or just budgeting to make sure that we have enough staff. Manpower hours, there is a cost to that. And there will be a little bit of time on our hands to make sure that we educate the public and the staff. So those are some of the barriers. This is just an initial preview. I'd like for any questions or comments or feedback. If anybody has any concerns that we should include, I'd love to hear them.
Did they provide you with the recommended number of receptacles by park? So like if you were to go to the Board of Supervisors or whatnot to say, this is what, if we were to get all the parks up to date with the proper receptacles, what that cost would be. So again, example, at the swim club, you would need 3 sets. At the tennis courts, you would need, and the basketball, you would need 1. At each baseball field, you need X. Like, did they give you that so you could actually say, here's what the total cost would be to get the township done?
Part of the plan is to develop a map of in-season, off-season layouts. So we would have to map out how many per park. So that'd be part of this process, is we'd have to map out how many we need for each park. We haven't done that yet. We just started with the inventory, came with a plan. Initially, EAC was recommending to the tune of 3 recycle bins to 1 trash can. And I said, my feeling is we only have 1 to 12 now. I mean, 1 to 1 is a good first goal. We see if that's working. I can't see going more than 1 to 1 at this point. So,
Because you probably have, they're probably the high side because all your recycling is going into trash receptacles. So when you start splitting it, then
it's going to divide.
balance itself out. And maybe you don't need paper because paper is maybe because you don't, maybe that might be limited to certain locations where you said, hey, we're doing a paper recycle only in these spots. So, versus.
Yeah, I feel
Ball
paper.
fields, I don't know how many people have newspapers anymore, or, the reams of paper, right? So it's probably trash and mostly recyclable stuff, so.
And the likelihood of paper getting contaminated is a lot greater. So a wet paper can't be recycled. So it'd be very hard for us to manage that in the parks, but it would be easy for us to manage bottles, plastic bottles, that type of thing. Hopefully there's not much glass in the parks, but,
Don't they make the recycling receptacles that like have the opening smaller, like a bottle, so that people can't mistakenly put like a pizza box or whatever in it? It kind of is more obvious it's for bottles.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Another thing that we talked about as a staff for a long term is maybe adding more water fountains for refillable water bottles. We really don't have a ton of water fountains around the parks, and maybe we would have less bottles in the parks if more people could refill. So that was one concept. We also talked about the idea of down the line, after we are more successful with this, potentially adding compost. A lot of the bigger cities are starting to add compost for every recycle bin. There's a compost bin too, for all those bananas or whatever people are eating. So that might be something down the line, like if we're successful and we're seeing great movement with this, that we would consider. So those are possible future considerations.
I like the refillable water bottle.
I do
think
too.
Definitely at the Makefield, the base, pool, baseball field, Makefield. where
In the
there's a
park,
higher-
even like a parent at a playground, if you have a water bottle, you refill it.
Yep. Definitely.
I also think the
environment-friendly.
recycling receptacles should definitely be a different color. I know you said about like figuring out how to identify it, but just as a parent, it's so much easier to say, use the blue trash can, not the brown trash can, because kids can't read. So I think color differences is huge.
I agree with that. And we have a lot of those blue bins in the park.
They're all blue and round and
I believe we acquired them from somewhere else over time. And they do look like they're recycling bins. It almost looks like we have only recycle bins and no trash bins. So I think that, with time, I think we need to pare down on that. And I agree 100%. Color does help. The smaller openings helps. That might be something we have to discuss as a board is, what is the look and feel of the park? When you go to park, what is it that we want them to look like? So that might be something we'd have to discuss. But if anybody has any, not necessarily looking for approval at this meeting, it's just a first look. But if anybody has anything down the line after the meeting you want to add, that'd be great. I will be presenting it to the EAC on Thursday for the first time. They have had a glance at it too. I'm sure they're going to have some feedback as well. And then I'll come back to the park board with any modifications once we go through that process.
it'd be interesting to understand if you said waste management, they're the ones that do they handle our, once it's collected, do they handle the trash?
Yeah, they handle the trash and the recycle. And now, I wrote a
Lean on
little
them
bit.
to get the,
China no longer takes the imports. I wrote about this a little bit in here. They no longer take the imports. So a lot of the recycle burden has been placed on a little more locally, which then pushes things down. So this is where you start seeing things like those fees and, more demand from us as the consumer. So it's going to be very interesting moving forward. But it's definitely something we should be considering is how can we keep waste out of the landfills. This is one way, and I'd love to be a part of that. So if anybody else, like I said, provide feedback, doesn't have to be here, and I'll take it. And that's all I have
thank you.
for that one. The next thing I have for you is our maintenance and operation plan. Again, just a little upsetting that we didn't really have an updated maintenance and operation plan at all in the township, especially as we grew, and now we do. This is just a start, looking to make it better over time. A lot of our maintenance is in our staff's head, and I have to pull it out of them. So it was really interesting going through this process and sitting with them and going through. We did have 3 new employees this year. This is so helpful to be able to give them as a checklist or what needs to get done. You may have noticed in the parks on occasion, we're behind on something, we're having everything in writing is really a great thing. One thing that we did do, and you'll see on page 6, is that we classified the parks based on their usage and what type of maintenance that they need. And we'll refer to the parks based on their color throughout the manual. So you'll see that there's checklists that are different for a yellow park versus a orange park versus a red park. So there's that. And then in the very back is a list of all of our maintenance needs throughout the year. So different inspections that need to get done, different things that need to get painted annual, mulch laying. That's all in here, at least I hope. And we're going to go through the year and see if there's anything that we did miss. And we look to review it maybe once a year as we go through. Does anybody have any questions about this? This isn't really for approval. This is more of an internal document, but I'd be able to be glad to share it publicly. No problem. If anybody has any questions about it, I'd be glad to discuss that too.
I appreciate you sharing this. Obviously, there's a lot of detail here on everything you guys do, and we appreciate all the work that your crew does. And I encourage everybody to kind of take a look at this, because to Monica's point, there might be something in here that you guys see on a daily basis, and whether you're involved in activities and at the fields, that maybe there's something they overlooked or they do it, but that's not listed on here. So just take a moment, and when you have a free moment and casual read through.
Kind of our next step to this would be, the way we do work orders is a little bit antiquated, so we're looking to get more of a mobile app where we can take a report on our computer, send it out to the guys. When they complete the work order, they just check it off on their phone, then we know. And it would actually communicate to the resident, so a resident would be able to make a report something in the park. Then they'll get a report back when the project is fixed or whatever has been taken care of. Bees, say, wasp nest, whatever it is, they find, you find, there'd be QR codes all around, they can scan, and then they'd be able to make a report right there, and it'd come to our staff, and our staff would follow up. It's very cool. There's about 6 different systems we've been looking at, but that would probably be something up and coming that we'd like to do to make our service to the community even better.
Yeah, because I think QR codes have made a comeback in this COVID environment, because prior they weren't really getting leveraged a lot, but now with this no touch, I know we've talked about, if someone at the dog park, for example, if someone wants to join, right, it says call the thing, but it's nice just to have that QR code and take them right to the application or right to the page that says, here's all the details, fill out the information. So I think having QR codes at the various parks, or even, like I said, a nudge campaign that says, here, scan this if there's an issue. Not that you want to be inundated with things that may not be really park and rec, but I think it gives people an opportunity to, if they see something,
Well, if it's not park and rec, though, we could always, communicate within the township to
Sure.
be able to put it where it needs to be.
Yep.
But everything would it would require a response, which is nice. So, it would get a response from staff, every piece of feedback, rather than, what I find sometimes is someone doesn't know where to go. So then they post something on social media, and then, they think that will handle it, but I don't ever find out about it, or I won't know. So it's best for you to, call the township, communicate with us. And that's that. And that's it for me. And any other questions, I'd be glad to take them.
any other business questions for Monica?
Doug, if I could real quick, I wanted to thank the board for allowing me to volunteer a few months ago for the 9/11 board and the committee that we did. I wanted to thank Monica, Debbie Sanko, Danielle Frost, Judy Reese, and Ellen Saraceni for their leadership and effort in getting that day together. I also wanted to very publicly put a major thank you to Valerie Mahalik. And wish her all the best. She was an absolute force to reckon with to make the evening as successful as it was. And it was just really great to work with so many strong and powerful women who really showed me how to lead. So it was, I just want to thank everybody for letting me do that, and thank all of them if they're listening. And also, I guess, just to the entire Ellen's entire board and her whole team underneath the foundation and everything they've done. So it was really a special day. It was really, it wouldn't have happened without all those people listed. So I really just thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to be a part of it.
Thank you, Michael, for participating, volunteering, and I'm sure it was a challenging but very rewarding experience for yourself, and appreciate everything you did to make that day special for all the members of our community and extended families around Bucks County. So with that, if there's not any other topics to discuss, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and that concludes our October Park and Rec meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.